Can I get a show of hands in chat, or maybe just spiritually, kind of like a Goku spirit bomb, whose life has been absolutely racked, just their backs, their financial backs blown out by student loans, because boy oh boy, I am one of those. See, I made the mistake of being selfish when I was 17 years old and decided to go to university and involve myself in passions and dive deep into education. Fuck me, right? Well, because of that, not only myself, but millions of other Americans are currently under the oppressive thumb of loans. Student debt right now in America, I believe, totals 1.76 trillion, a number that I definitely memorized and then just look up. Well, in a common dark Brandon W, student loans were going to be forgiven until the Fire Nation attacked. The Fire Nation being a bunch of money-grubby loan officers and schools who like the money and sued the Biden administration, meaning the one good fucking thing that came out being the paltry 10 to 20,000 worth of student loan forgiveness now isn't happening. This lawsuit is currently in the Supreme Court. You probably won't be getting any student loan relief thanks to a GOP-controlled Supreme Court. Thank you, Vox. Very hopeful. I thought this was going to be a happy stream. If you were hoping that your student loans would be forgiven under a program that President Joe Biden announced last summer, you should unfortunately make other plans. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments. Settle down over there. They're doing things weird with Brett Kavanaugh. Now that he's a Supreme Court justice. Biden versus Nebraska and Department of Education versus Brown. That asked the court to strike down the student loan relief program. And that program would provide $10,000 in relief to most borrowers who earned less than $125,000 a year during the pandemic, and $20,000 in relief to borrowers who receive Pell Grants. That second part would be astronomical for poor Americans with the way that intersections often go, students of color or ex-students of color. The Brown case is laughably weak, and no justice appeared to believe that federal courts have jurisdiction to hear this case. But the Supreme Court only needs to assert the jurisdiction over one of these two cases to kill the loan relief program. And the court appeared likely to split along party lines in the Nebraska case, though there is an off chance that Justin Brett Kavanaugh or Amy Coney Barrett might break from their fellow Republican appointees. All 6 of the GOP-appointed justices appeared inclined to kill the program. If I remember correctly, and I don't want anyone quoting me on this, this is pure speculation and rumors, Kavanaugh and Barrett, surprisingly, are starting to lean towards dismissing the case, which is the best win for those suffering under debt. If this case is thrown out, if it's dismissed, that means that the student loan forgiveness is happening. And even if the Biden administration did convince Kavanaugh or Barrett to vote in their favor, that would not be enough. The administration would need both of their votes to prevail. The justices are likely to strike down the program. Moreover, despite the fact that the Federal Heroes Act explicitly gives Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona broad authority to waive or modify many student loan obligations, as the Secretary deems necessary in connection with war or other military operation or national emergency, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. That is one of many national emergencies going on right now. As it turns out, the most important question in American law is not what the law actually says. It is whether the 9 justices on the Supreme Court think the policy is a good idea. We have said this on stream before, and I will reiterate it for the umpteenth time. The Supreme Court is the most, and has been historically, the most reactionary branch of the government. It has been shown with Roe v. Wade. It has been shown with the precedents set over indigenous rights. It is continuing to be shown with their treatment of Americans suffering, and I do genuinely, wholeheartedly mean suffering from student debt. Almost immediately after the argument began, the justices split into two partisan camps. The court's three Democratic appointees largely argued that the judiciary's job is to follow the text of the federal law, which normally you would hear from your average Constitution-loving, Constitution-licking Republican. That is the reasonable argument right now. As Justice Elena Kagan put it at one point, the HEROES Act is really quite clear here that this student loan forgiveness program is allowed. Under this approach, that should be the beginning and end of the court's inquiry. Although it's worth noting that three Democratic justices also asked questions suggesting that they do not believe that federal courts have jurisdiction to hear this case. A handful of questions by Kavanaugh and Barrett aside, the six Republican appointees spent much of the argument fixated on concerns that if this student debt relief program is upheld, then the Biden administration would have too much power. Notably, U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar received some of the harshest questions from Chief Justice John Roberts, ordinarily the most moderate member of the court's Republican bloc, who immediately criticized the size of the program because he claimed it will lead to $500 billion in loan obligations being waived. Well, yes. You see, that's a common thing that America does and that the American government does is give out loans and then forgive them. Now, not to you or me, but they do this for big banks. They do this for businesses. Do we remember the handful of businesses that received COVID relief loans, $500,000, $1 million of COVID relief loans that they don't have to pay back? Some people even had the bright idea of abusing the system, and now the Biden administration is going out with their IRS SEAL Team 6 agents who are all strapped and ready to make these people leave the server. Of course. The point I'm laboriously trying to make is that there is a precedent in America for giving out money to people who can't pay it back and saying, okay, but it's not for you or me. So what's the difference? The court's Republican appointees spent much of the argument discussing policy disagreements with President Biden that have nothing whatsoever to do with the question of whether the student loan forgiveness program is legal. Roberts, along with Justices Justice Alito, and Gorsuch, for example, all took turns criticizing Prelogar's position because this loan program benefits student loan borrowers and not, say, someone who took out a loan to start a lawn care business. Anger, frustration even. Violent rage, almost. The obvious response to this legally irrelevant objection to this program is that, as Justice Kagan pointed out, Congress passed a statute that deals with loan repayment for student borrowers, and it didn't pass a statute that provides loan forgiveness to people who own a lawn care business. But if Tuesday's argument is any sign, Roberts, Alito, and Gorsuch's disagreements with the Biden administration policy are likely to trump the actual text of the HEROES Act. Not sure how much more of this we need to read. As much of a precedent that America has of giving out money to people who cannot repay it and saying, okay. It also has a precedent for impoverishing the working class, intentionally so, and stripping away what should be human rights to make the quality of their lives so bad that they do not come together as a class and demand better from their workplaces and from their government. Remember when Nixon and Reagan, the Nixon-Reagan advisor, warned in 1970 that free college was producing the dangerously explosive dynamite of an educated proletariat. As we talked about in our last segment, it both astounds me and doesn't that America is constantly getting rid of what could be a violently educated working class. In 1970, Roger Freeman, a key educational advisor to Nixon, then working for the re-election of California Governor Ronald Reagan, spelled out quite precisely what the conservative counterattack was aimed at preventing. We are in danger of producing an educated proletariat. That's dynamite. We have to be selective on who we allow to go through higher education. If not, we will have a large number of highly trained and unemployed people. The two most menacing institutional sources of the danger described by Freeman were obviously those two great public university systems charging no tuition, the University of California and the City University of New York, which, if I remember, is currently under threat right now of no longer existing. I was actually going to go to CUNY Hunter. The tuition is decently cheap, especially for out-of-state students, but they offer quite a bit of bang for your buck. You get a very, very good quality of education there. It is violently unsurprising that they are now under threat of being shut down. Governor Reagan was able to wipe out free tuition at the University of California. Yeah, well, we'll see where this goes. We probably won't be figuring out what the results of this case are until June. So until then, I stand with y'all in saying I am part of team never paying those fucking loans. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to watch in regards to this. Oh, God, what could have been? What could have been? Bernie, close us out.
We need the best educated workforce in the entire planet.
Goddamn right.
We need you guys to go out and be the doctors and the nurses and the scientists and the teachers that we desperately need.
Yeah, well, you know, it's, again, all coming together. While this is a call to action for students, for the working class, to Republicans, this is the scariest mask that Bernie could have put on while saying this. Hellfire is currently raising up behind him as they are viscerally looking to defund, to dismantle the practices of medicine, of education, from its roots. It's all coming together, right?
Long-term or not so long-term, in this wealthy country, we should understand that education from child care to graduate school is a human right. It should be free to all. And our fight right now is at least to make public colleges and universities tuition free. Right now in America, we have 45 million Americans, young people, drowning in student debt.
God forbid if any of them have medical debt too, such as myself. Boy, oh boy, how selfish of me was it to go to school and get sick, right?
And I have talked to people all over this country who literally delay having a family, can't have any kids, they can't afford a car, they can't afford to have a middle-class life because they're drowning in their student debt. In America, you should not have to face financial ruin because you want a damn education.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't think it could be said any better. Oh, God, what could have been? All right. Well, this is inevitably something we'll be following up on later this year. I hope the odds are ever in our favor or whatever. This is very akin to some battle royale blood sports after all. Anyway. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you're so inclined, feel free to like and share the video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more. If you would like to join chat on stream, go go pop on over to twitch.tv/CommieBravo. I hope to see you there.